The period from about 7,000 years ago to 2,000 years ago was the New Stone Age, or Neolithic, in the Philippines. During the New Stone Age, man sailed into the islands. The land bridges had disappeared. He practiced agriculture, and he had a vastly improved stone technology. The collection of the late Professor H. Otley Beyer is particularly wealthy in Neolithic materials. This is a gouge, a type of tool made of stone which we believe was used to carve the boats that man sailed through the islands. This much larger stone tool is an axe, used to cut trees in the forest, where he planted his agricultural clearings of rice and root crops. Another type of tool which was recovered in the Tabon caves looks like stone, but is actually shell made from the hinge area of the giant clam. This is one of the many evidences which would suggest that man came out of Asia through the Philippines into the Pacific Islands, despite the opinions of the people who worked with the Kon-Tiki expedition. This is still another type of stone tool, a bark cloth beater with longitudinal grooves on its face. Clothing at that time was made from the bark of trees. The most beautiful of the stone tools recovered in the Philippines are these ground and highly polished axes and adzes made of nephrite, a type of true jade. It is estimated that more than 5,000 nephrite tools have been excavated or collected in the Philippines. The Stone Age in the Philippines lasted for more than 50,000 years and continued until only 2,000 years ago, when the metals appeared: copper, bronze, iron, even gold. It was a period of great social and technological change, when the basic material culture of the people here was developed, and the basic patterns of their life, some of which exist in isolated areas of the Philippines even today.
That was Dr. Robert Fox, a leading authority on the prehistory of the Philippines. The Philippines, that chain of islands stretching 1,000 miles between the Pacific and the South China Sea. In the extreme southwest of the archipelago, on the island of Palawan, stands the rocky outcrop of Lipuan Point, densely forested and sparsely inhabited. A search is in progress along the Palawan coast for a likely Stone Age site. All the stone tools hitherto encountered had come from casual finds. There had been no scientific excavations in the Philippines of places where Stone Age man might actually have lived. Dr. Fox remembers well the feeling of excitement as he and the party from the Philippine National Museum waded ashore for the first time in 1963. He already knew, from evidence in other parts of Southeast Asia, that Stone Age man had lived in limestone caves. This might well be the place they were looking for. Palawan Island had been chosen because it almost joins the coastline of Borneo, where a few years earlier in the great limestone cave of Nia, in the state of Sarawak, remains of Stone Age man had been discovered. Dr. Fox and his team were right, And now, several years later, they're revisiting Tabon Cave, site of their own successful excavation. When they first arrived, the cave mouth was covered with a screen of trees that had to be felled before work could begin. Beside museum staff, a number of local people had to be recruited to help. Most were Filipinos, but a few of them were Tabona, a minority that has inhabited Palawan for as long as anyone knows, and that still lives there in small groups today. And this man, Pito, is a Tabona. They are skilled in handling the local materials, rattan and bamboo, and so they should be. But these are the materials they still use in their daily lives. This man, Timoteo, is another member of the Tabona people. In way of life and in appearance, they're quite distinct from the Filipinos. They may well have been helping to unearth their own people's past when they started working on this excavation with the National Museum and Dr. Fox.
When we first climbed into Tabon Cave in 1963, it was like stepping into the past. Along this wall, bathed in the afternoon sunlight, were jars, large burial jars. Some 2,000 years ago, as we already knew, it was a practice throughout the Philippines to place the bones of the dead in jars, and then to hide the jars in high caves overlooking the sea, where they formed a majestic resting place for the dead. More than 200 jars were found in Tabon Cave. Some were broken, some had collapsed, and some were almost perfect, resting there in this condition for nearly 2,000 years. We were far more excited in the first exploration of Tabon Cave to find tools of stone lying on the surface, indicating that ancient man might have been in this cave thousands and thousands of years before the jar burial people appeared. This cave forms a perfect habitation site for man. There are no bugs, it is dry, the ceiling is perfect condition, it is high on the face of a cliff, protected from the elements. It is a beautiful home, utilized for thousands of years by man and carved by nature.
So from the start, they had good indication that Stone Age man had inhabited this cave. Some of his stone tools were lying right on the surface alongside the burial jars. There was a problem. The floor had already been disturbed by the digging of a bird, locally known as the Tabon bird and elsewhere as the megapode, which buries its eggs deep in the loose soil where they're left to hatch. These digging by the megapodes had caused considerable confusion in the levels of the floor. For what the archaeologist seeks is good stratification. As he goes down through layers of soil, so he is going down through layers of time. The different strata may correspond to thousands of years of history. Loose earth can be removed with a trowel, but the actual excavation must be done with a small ice pick. This was one of the first major excavations at the National Museum, so it was most important that accurate and scientific methods should be used. The ice pick and the brush are employed for really delicate exploratory work.